Where I came down?
Yeah, where?
All I know is a wide open field.
Okay.
And we walked, practically into Air Day and spent that night, September 17th night, out in the outskirts.
Okay.
And we came in the next morning. But the field
was white, yeah.
it's all changed so much.
Oh yeah, it did.
Somebody sent me a picture one time and said, this is the field you jumped in, but they all look alike.
Yeah, well, probably your because this is a picture taken by Albert Kotschka, who was a photographer of the 501, and here you see a lot of parachutes hanging in the air. That's 3rd Battalion, so you should be in there somewhere. So
I know one thing. There's a clump of trees over in one corner, but we didn't ride down. Never came close to the trees. That was an area we assembled in.
Okay.
And then from after once was assembled, and then we moved on to our objective.
Okay.
But Lieutenant Hilton, and D-Day, I jumped last in the plane.
You were the last one out?
Yeah, and that's no good.
Oh, no, I can't.
And I found that out. But Hilton said, Klein, I want you to jump last and make sure everybody gets out. Well, I don't know. If somebody didn't want to get out, I don't know what I was supposed to do, pick them up and
throw them out.
I had trouble getting myself out. So I vowed that I'll never jump last again. So we got ready to come into Holland. It was the first time we had the radios that you fit on your back, 300.
Okay, SLC 300.
And so somebody had to jump it because you strapped it on your leg and you tied a rope on it, and then you tied the rope on the bundle. You had a release. You put it, and then you'd hang on the rope and lower it down. But you never had to worry about landing on top of it.
Yeah.
So if you jump radio, you jump number 1. So I was 1, and he was actually jumped after, but I had to stand in the door. It's a beautiful view.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But as it was a daylight jump, and everybody was happy about that. After a night jump in D-Day, that was a fiasco.
So you have the experience in 2 combat jumps, being out last and being out first.
Yeah. So when I went out the door, there were parachutes and guys jumping all around. I looked down the ground. There were a lot of guys on the ground already. It was, no shots were fired. Absolutely.
Were you able to release the radio before you landed?
I do what now?
Were you able to release the radio before you landed?
Well, yeah, what you do, as soon as your chute opens, you pull the cord that it's fastened on your leg. It's sort of a wire that ran through some holes and pulled the trees. But you hung on to the rope, and then you just lowered it. Once it lowered, and if we put blankets in the bag to cushion the fall a little bit. But the radio survived very well.
But you had to be quick because you were jumping low, weren't you?
Yeah. It was a beautiful jump. As you say, only opposition when we flew over the German line. Back where I drove in someplace in that area. We had some fire, and I heard some popping. And I said to my lieutenant, I said, what's the popping? And he smiled at me and said, that's bullets went by. But they didn't hit our plane. Our plane didn't get a puncture hole in it. But I still remember that popping. But I had no idea what it was, but Hilton knew more than I did.
And how was it when you jumped in Normandy? Because you hear all this, fellows talking about the noise that there was. It was pitch black. And did you also see the tracers coming out?
Well, jumping last, frankly, I couldn't see the tracers. We only had that little porthole, and we had so much equipment, I wouldn't just get down and look out the porthole. But our pilot, and he wasn't the only one, as soon as they got fired at, they received some flack when they flew over some little islands that the Germans put some anti-aircraft on. And then they hit a fog bank, or a cloud, I'm not sure we call fog bank a cloud, and they scattered. They just broke formation. And each of them became fighter pilots. They were trying to stand up in the plane with all the equipment you had on. You had to hang on to the anchor line, and you're swaying back and forth, and back up and down. And you're supposed to jump to the 95 miles per hour, 100, and those guys had those things wide open. I don't know, I think a C-47 goes about 220 miles an hour. Well, this one was going 220 miles an hour. And they're supposed to jump us not any lower than 600 feet or so. And I always tell a story that I'm in the back of the plane, and I was always interested in history, and I thought, well, now, Dick, when you jump, you got to think of something, you know, hallelujah or something. And so we're shuffling up to the door. I got the door, and I couldn't think of a thing to say. So I went out the door. I said, France, here I come.
Yeah.
I didn't say it verbally, but in my mind. And I looked down, and there was a church steeple right underneath me. I swore I could have kicked it with the cross with my foot. Normally, when your chute opens, you have a chance to look around a little bit. And I never saw anything but the ground. Boom, we hit. So I swear that he jumped us around 250, 300 feet.
And which storm was that? Was that Saint-Marie-du-Mont, or do you know where you landed? Was it in
Yeah, a little town called Belleville.
Oh, Beauville, oui.
Yeah, somewhere between St. Mary-Glise and Carrington.
Yes.
And
So that was not your intended drop zone?
what now?
That was not your intended drop
No,
zone?
no, he didn't miss it too far, really. We were supposed to assemble at Eyesville. We were what we call battalion reserve. Our battalion was supposed to, well, if they had a problem taking this objective, we'd go there. Well, it all went out the window because nobody had assembled enough men to do anything. And so I landed, and I jumped with my jump knife. We have those Presto knives, switchblades.
Yeah.
I jumped with my hand. I tied a piece of leather thong around the ring and around my wrist because I feared water.
Okay, well.
If you land in water, you've had it. And trees the same way. So the trees, you got a chance. But I jumped with that knife in my hand, and as soon as I hit the ground, I switched it and cut the chute with it. I didn't bother to try to unbuckle it. And I jumped that. You had a little radio there, but you the 536.
Yes.
Well, I jumped one of those. There's no big thing. You're almost fit in your pocket. So when I got the landless backyard of this farmhouse, I didn't know the Germans in the house or not, but I was going to stick around to find out. So as soon as I got out of the chute and I got out the hedgerow and I pulled that 536 out, pushed it to nothing but static, and it made so much noise. I got rid of it right then. They were never any good.
You were in your position, yeah. It was
Yeah, they were good. Not as good if from a mile away they weren't worth a nickel.
Yeah.
Well, so there was a road in the rear of this house, a dirt road. I presume the farmers used it to take their carts to get to their fields. Well, I climbed over the hedgerow in this road. And so you're supposed to always go the direction that your plane came from. Well, it was easy for me to remember that because of church. I flew over that church, so I knew which way to go. And so I'm going down that road very cautiously. And I don't know how long it was, 15, 20 minutes, half hour. I didn't check my watch every 5 minutes. And so I saw a silhouette with a helmet.
But you were still by yourself then?
By myself, yeah. I'm a corporal. So I saw this helmet, and so I took the safety off and I put a bead on it. And we had those crickets, but I never used the cricket. It makes so much noise. Where are you going to carry it in your hand all the time? You have to put it in your pocket. So I used the flash, and then you're supposed to get rid of thunder.
Yeah.
You're supposed to get through. So I said flash, and there was a hesitant. Pretty soon this guy said, "It's me." Well, I got up close, and it was a guy I knew, Bill Purdy. He got killed, by the way, here in Holland, up in the Hedron area. But so Bill and I, then we're moving together. Eventually, next hour or so, I found 3 more men. None of them I knew. They weren't in our stick at all. But daylight came, and I just felt very uneasy walking down the road with 5 men, and one of them had either a broken ankle or a bad sprain, but he could hardly walk. And we reassured him, we aren't going to leave you. We'll go as fast as you can go. So we walked, and pretty soon it's getting real daylight. So I made a decision, we'll dig in one of the hedgerow that went parallel, or perpendicular, I should say, to the road. And we dug in, and we had one guy stayed up near the road to see if anybody was coming to let us know. And pretty soon he's coming, they're American. And so we joined a lieutenant, he got a dozen men maybe. So we joined up with him. So I spent the rest of that day. He knew pretty much where he was. And we first went to Varaville. And we got to Varaville where they took some of us and had us outpost in case the Germans would come in on Varaville. And then once we went to Varaville, well, then I knew by the time how to get to Iceville. So later in the day, sometime later, we made our way over to Iceville. Meantime, Jake Winger, I think I told you a story.
Yeah, he came the day later.
Yeah, he went back to England. And only he'd be if it had been me, I probably said, okay, send me back to camp, I'll wait there until they get back. But he didn't, he went to the base commander and said, well, you gotta get us over there. They need us. And he was right, because he had two of our mortars in his plane. And so finally, the colonel or whatever he was capitulated and called the pilot in. And called the pilot and says, why didn't you jump these men? The pilot was honest. He said, I was lost. I didn't know where I was, and I'd have felt like a murderer if I jumped these men. All he had to do was throw the green light on.
Yes.
And they'd have gone. So I admire the pilot. Maybe he did the wrong thing, but in his mind, it was better to do that, take them back. So the commander said, well, I'll tell you what to do. You take these men over and jump them today, and we'll drop charges. And I still remember this lone plane flying over, these men jumping out. Had no idea that was Jake, the slightest idea. He beat me to Berryville, or to Highsville, I should say, because the pilot dropped him pretty much right on the nose. So when I got to Highsville, when Jake was there, then he told me the story. Up until then, I had no idea what had happened. But he's the only one. I heard a story that another plane did the same thing. But only thing I know, his plane for sure.
But you personally saw them coming in?
Yeah. But like I said, I didn't know it was them.
No.
But, and the guy jumped him up pretty high, probably 900,000 feet. Nobody shot at him on the way down, maybe. There weren't that many Germans around. It wasn't like every field had a machine gun nest in it. And that first day, when I was lieutenant, we took 2 prisoners. I found 2 prisoners in one of the houses. One of the guys when our patrol went up and threw a hand grenade in the building. And it's not like the movies. You throw a hand grenade, the building doesn't explode. They make a lot of noise. And if you're in the room, why it's going to cause you a problem. But they came out unharmed, and they were. Once you saw them, hey, these aren't the big 6-foot blonde-haired Aryans that made up the SS troops. They were evidently from captured Czechoslovakians or Bulgarians or countries that the Germans had captured, but they were not fighting them. So they were handy. They carried ammunition for us. We found a equipment bundle that had machine gun canisters in it, so they were very handy to do that. So
that's why you use them for carrying your ammunition. You use the prisoners to carry the ammunition.
Yeah. Well, they were happy to do it. I thought, the one guy was so scared that he had to urinate, and he either didn't know how to ask or so he wet his pants, and but I guess he felt that was better than thinking that he's going to try to run away or something. Now they were second-rate troops. So D-Day was, for us, after we assembled, we had 3 objectives. You've been to Normandy, haven't you?
Yeah.
One of those causeways.
Yeah.
Well, the little town where we always pronounce it Poopyville.
Poopyville.
Yeah, that was one of the causeways. And,
There were four. Causeways.
yeah, 4 of them. And we took that one and I think it was, I wasn't there. I think it was 6:30, 7 o'clock and some of the tanks came up the beach. And, the town wasn't fortified by Germans. We lost one officer there, a lieutenant named Marks. He was killed, but there was no great fighting in taking Poopyville. The other objective, there was a lock, a La Barque.
La Barquette, that's where Johnson.
La Barque, is that all the
La Barquette.
Yeah, and well, they did have a fight there.
Yeah, Johnson.
Johnson was in charge
Yes.
there, and they did a battalion, I think. They had a shootout with them. And most of the Germans, I think, surrendered. But, again, I was not there, but I know the story pretty well. I read the books like everybody else. And there's some bridges, I guess, were supposed to blow if needed to be blown.
Dove, yes, Dove River.
I don't.
Dat heeft de